The girl in the shadows. It was late at night, and the streets were quiet. The rain had just stopped, and the air felt cold. John was walking back from the store, taking a shortcut past the old, empty church. The building had not been used in years. Its roof was broken, and most people stayed away. But tonight, something was different. As John passed by, he heard a soft sound, like someone breathing hard or crying. He paused. At first, he thought it was just the wind, but then he heard it. Again, it came from behind the church. Curiosity pulled him closer. He moved slowly, unsure of what he would find. When he reached the back of the church, he froze. In the corner, near the old stone wall, was a girl. She wasn't wearing normal clothes. In fact, she was almost unclothed, her thin body covered only by strange silver cloth that looked torn and dirty. Her skin was not like human skin. It shimmered slightly, like the surface of water in moonlight. Her hair was long and white, sticking to her face because of the rain. John's first thought was that she needed help, but his second thought was she wasn't human. Her eyes opened slowly, and they were large, glowing faintly with a pale blue light. She looked at him without fear, but her body was shaking from the cold. She didn't speak at first, just stared. Then, with a weak voice, she whispered one word, "Hide." John felt confused. Who was she hiding from? And why was she in this state? He took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. She looked small and fragile. When he touched her arm, her skin felt warm but soft, like it wasn't fully solid. Her breathing was slow, and she looked like she hadn't eaten in days. John asked her name, but she didn't answer. Instead, she looked around as if afraid someone was watching. Her body had golden lines across her back and neck, symbols that glowed slightly under the dim light. They didn't look like tattoos. They looked natural, like they were a part of her. John knew he couldn't leave her there. She was in danger, but from who? He gently helped her stand. She tried to walk but fell forward. He caught her and carried her in his arms. Her body was light, too light for someone her size. It was as if her bones were hollow. As he carried her, she closed her eyes and whispered something in a language he didn't understand. Back at his home, John dried her hair and gave her some food. She ate slowly, like someone who had not tasted anything in a long time. She watched everything in his house with wide eyes, like she didn't know what anything was. She touched the lights, the table, even the floor, like it was all new to her. John noticed she flinched when he turned on the stove. The fire scared her. It was clear she came from somewhere very different. But he didn't ask too many questions. He could tell she didn't feel safe yet. That night, she slept on the couch, wrapped in blankets. But she didn't sleep peacefully. She kept turning and making soft sounds, like she was running in her dreams. Once, she even said a name, something soft and strange, like V-Nod-Liss. John sat nearby, watching her, wondering who she really was. In the morning, he found her standing by the window, staring at the sun. She looked peaceful now. She turned to him and gave a small smile. Then she pointed at herself and said, "Zira." That was her name. Simple, short, and beautiful. John introduced himself and she nodded slowly. She repeated his name softly, as if she was learning how to say it. John smiled. For the first time, she seemed calm, but then something strange happened. John's phone buzzed and Zira jumped back in fear. The screen cracked when she looked at it. Just by being near, she had made the phone go black. It was like her body had some kind of energy that broke machines. John stared at the broken phone, then looked at her. Zira looked guilty, like she had done something wrong. But he didn't blame her. Instead, he asked, "Who are you really?" Zira looked at him, her eyes serious. She opened her mouth but stopped. Then, very slowly, she placed her hand on his chest and whispered, "Not safe. bad people ... coming. Those words made John's heart beat faster. Whoever Zero was, she was not safe. And now, because he helped her, maybe he wasn't safe either. He didn't know where she came from, or why she looked like she had escaped something terrible. But one thing was clear: Zero was not just any alien. She was something more. Something important, and the truth was only beginning to show. A refuge in silence. John didn't sleep that night. He sat near the couch, watching the strange girl Zero wrapped in blankets. Her breathing was slow, but sometimes her body shook like she was remembering something terrible. She whispered words in her sleep, names and places he didn't understand. There was pain in her voice, even while dreaming. By morning, Zero was quiet again. She walked slowly around John's small home, looking at everything like it was all new to her. She gently touched books, light switches, even a spoon. Her movements were soft, like she was scared she would break something. She didn't speak much, only watching and listening. It was clear she didn't trust the world outside, and maybe not even herself. John made her breakfast. She stared at the food for a long time before picking it up. She ate carefully, like each bite was a memory. He could tell she had gone days, maybe longer, without proper food. When he handed her water, she held it tightly with both hands and sipped it slowly. Her eyes closing with relief. John wanted to ask her questions. Where was she from? Who was after her? What did bad people coming really mean? But every time he opened his mouth, she looked away, like she wasn't ready to speak. So he waited. Later that day, while John was fixing a loose wire under the kitchen sink, he saw something strange. The lights above him flickered. Then his watch stopped ticking. He looked up. Zero was standing close, watching him. As she stepped back, the lights returned to normal. It was her again. Her presence was messing with electricity. She noticed his stare and lowered her head in shame. She slowly reached toward her arm and pulled back a piece of cloth. Underneath, her skin glowed faintly, and John could see small symbols running across her arm like lines of golden ink. They moved slightly, as if alive. He gasped but didn't pull away. It hurts? He asked. Zero shook her head. It's single quotes S. My mark, she said softly. Born with it. John understood one thing clearly: Zero was not just an alien girl. She was something special. Something that shouldn't be here, yet somehow was. As the day passed, John turned on the news to see if there were any reports about aliens or strange sightings. Nothing. The world outside was still normal. But something in his gut told him this peace wouldn't last. That night, the house was quiet again. John handed Zero a soft sweater and pants that belonged to his sister. She had disappeared years ago, and these clothes were the only thing left of her. Zero held them carefully, then put them on. They were too big, but she smiled and nodded, her way of saying thank you. For the first time, John saw her smile without fear. It was small but real. Before going to bed, John showed her a picture on the wall: his family, his mother, father, and sister. All gone now, he said. Zero looked at the picture and gently touched it. She didn't say anything, but her eyes grew sad. She understood loss. That night, Zero didn't sleep on the couch. She sat near the window and looked at the sky. John didn't disturb her. In the middle of the night, he woke up to the sound of soft humming. It was coming from Zero. Her eyes were closed and her hands were glowing. Around her floated small lights, like dust but alive. It was like watching stars move inside the room. The glow disappeared as she opened her eyes and noticed him watching. She looked scared for a second, but John just said, "It's okay." He smiled at her, and she gave a small nod. They didn't speak, but something passed between them. Trust. In the morning, things changed. John stepped outside to check his mailbox. Two strange black cars were parked far down the road. He didn't think much of it until he saw one man step out and stare directly at his house. The man wore a dark suit and held a small glowing device. It beeped once and pointed toward John's home. He went back inside quickly and locked the door. Zira stood still near the window, her body tense. "They found," she whispered. "They found me." John felt his heart drop. "Who are they?" he asked. Zira's hands were shaking. "Hunters. For me, they want my blood." John didn't know what that meant. Why would anyone want her blood? But looking at her now, those golden marks, that strange energy, the way she spoke without full knowledge of English, he realized something. Zira was not just a survivor. She was being hunted for something she carried. And whatever it was inside her. "We need to go," she said. "They take me ... they destroy." John nodded. He didn't ask where or why. He just packed some things, grabbed his keys, and helped her prepare to leave. He didn't understand it all yet, but he knew this. The quiet life he once had was over, and the silent girl he saved from behind the church? She was not just running from danger, she was a danger to those who chased her. Visitors in the fog rolled in early that morning. The air was heavy, quiet, and full of tension. John looked out the window and saw nothing but gray mist. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Something was coming, and even the birds had gone silent. Zira stood near the door, her body stiff. She didn't say anything, but her eyes were locked on the road outside. She could feel it before it happened. Her kind didn't always need eyes to see danger. Her skin shivered, and the gold marks on her arms started glowing slightly. Again, then they came. From the fog, two large black vehicles slowly moved forward. They were quiet, too quiet, not normal engines. These moved like hunters. One stopped at the end of the road. The other parked across from John's home. The doors opened, and three figures stepped out. They weren't dressed like police or soldiers. They wore dark suits with silver badges on their arms and carried small devices that blinked red and green. One of them looked around, scanning the houses. Another held something that beeped louder the closer it got to John's front door. Zira took a step back. "Trackers," she said, barely above a whisper. "They smell my code." John's heart raced. He locked the doors and pulled the curtains shut. But deep inside, he knew hiding wouldn't help. They weren't knocking. They were waiting, watching. As if they already knew she was inside but didn't want to scare her away too soon. One of the men raised a small round object to his mouth. His voice, loud and cold, echoed from a hidden speaker. "You have something that does not belong to you. Return the asset. No harm will come." Zira's face turned pale. She clutched John's arm. "Asset," she repeated, almost spitting the word. "That's what they call me. Not a girl. Not a person. Just ... A tool John had never seen. Her so angry. Her glow pulsed brighter now, her eyes filled with quiet fire. For a moment, he saw something royal in her, something powerful that was hiding all this time. Not fear, not weakness, but strength waiting to wake up. He whispered, "We need to leave." But Zira shook her head. "They won't stop. We leave, they follow. You help me. They punish you. They erase those who touch royalty blood." John looked at her in shock. "Royalty?" Zira nodded. For the first time, she spoke clearly. "I was born on Virelia, daughter of High Mother Elantra. Our line holds the stars. Our blood powers ancient light. They killed my family. I escaped through a forbidden gate, fell to earth. They think I'm dead." John was stunned. This girl who just yesterday couldn't finish a sentence in English was now standing tall, her voice calm and sharp. She wasn't just an alien. She was a fugitive. "Queen. Outside," The men moved closer. One of them pressed a button, and a loud hum filled the air. Lights blinked across the street. All communication signals were being cut off. No phone calls. No help. Zira looked at John. They can't take me. If they do, they will drain me, break my mind, and use me to open the thrones of power. My people will fall. Earth... will fall next. John couldn't fully understand the thrones or the bloodlines, but he didn't need to. He knew two things. She trusted him. And she needed protection. Suddenly, Zira grabbed a pendant from under her shirt. It looked like a dull crystal, but when she held it to her chest, it glowed. She whispered words in her language, and a soft pulse shot through the house. The lights flickered, then returned. It will block their scans for 5 minutes, she said. That's all we have. John didn't waste time. He grabbed the small bag they had packed before. Water, food, cash, some tools. He gave her his sister's boots and helped her into a hoodie to cover her glow. But before they could leave, Zira stopped. There's something you must know, she said. Earth... was once part of our map. Long ago, before humans, your planet is not unknown to us. John was confused. You mean we were part of your history? Zira gave a sad smile. Yes, but that history was buried. My blood carries keys not just to my world, but yours, too. That's why they want me. Not just for power, but because Earth has secrets even you don't remember. The sound of boots stepping on his porch cut the moment short. John looked at her one last time. Are you ready? Zira's eyes turned golden for the first time. I've run enough. Now ... I fight. John opened the back door slowly. The fog was thicker now. They slipped into the mist, silent like ghosts. Behind them, the hunters entered the house too, late, but the game had changed. They were not chasing a lost girl anymore. They were chasing a hidden queen and the only human who dared to protect her. Her blood. Their power. The fog behind them was thick, but John didn't slow down. His breath came fast as he guided Zira through narrow paths and back streets. He didn't know exactly where he was going. He just knew they had to keep moving. The air was cold, and the world felt like it was holding a secret. Zira moved beside him without fear, but her body looked weak again. Her skin shimmered, and the golden lines on her arms pulsed faster. It was clear that something inside her was changing, growing stronger or breaking down. They reached an old workshop on the edge of town. It belonged to John's late uncle, a mechanic. No one came here anymore. It was full of rusted tools, old parts, and silence. Inside, Zira sat down on a wooden bench and closed her eyes. Her breathing was shallow. I need time, she whispered. They tried to bind my blood. It's fighting back. John was confused. What do you mean, bind? Zira opened her eyes slowly. They put something in me before I escaped, a blocker, to stop my royal code from waking. But Earth's air is different. It weakens the blocker. She took off the glove on her right hand. Underneath, the skin was glowing brighter, and strange markings circled her fingers like rings of light. John stared, unsure if he was looking at magic or science. I don't understand all this, he said. What is your blood really? Zira looked at him with deep sadness. In my world, our thrones are not built by gold. They are built by memory and light. Our family line was born with a gift-living code inside us. My blood can open ancient doors, command forgotten ships, and awaken systems older than stars. It is why they want me. My blood can bend power, even yours. John backed away a little, unsure what to say. Zira continued, They used my cousin to open one gate. He died. His blood burned out. They want me now. I'm the last true daughter of the royal core. Suddenly, she reached into her bag and pulled out a broken piece of alien metal. It looked like a handle, but dull and cracked. She ran her glowing fingers across it. The metal came alive, shifting and shaping itself into a sharp edge. It turned into a small blade floating above her hand, glowing faint blue. "This only works with my blood," she said softly. "That's why they chase me. Not because I'm dangerous, but because I can control what they can't." John was silent. He now understood. They didn't just want her. They wanted her as a tool, a weapon, something to control, to use, not to protect. "I don't care who you are," John finally said. "You're not a thing to be used. You're someone who deserves peace." Zira gave a tired smile. "Peace? In my world, peace is only a word we whisper." Outside, the wind shifted. A small drone passed by above, too fast to catch. Zira stood up. "They are close again. The blocker is almost gone. They will feel me stronger now." John looked around. The workshop. In one corner, there was an old control panel connected to an underground generator. Years ago, his uncle used it for testing strange tech pieces found in scrap piles. He had once joked about junk from the sky. John never believed him until now. Zira walked toward the panel. When she touched it, the lights blinked wildly. Then they steadied. The screen, long dead, lit up with symbols not of Earth. She closed her eyes and spoke softly in her language. The machine answered, not in words but with images. Star maps, doors in space, and then Earth, marked in red. Long ago, Earth had been on their map, connected, protected, until someone erased it. Zira pointed. "That's why they're here. Earth was removed from the royal path, but I still remember it. My blood remembers." "That's why this machine woke," John asked. "What does that mean for us?" Zira looked into his eyes. "It means Earth is not forgotten. And if they get me, they will find your planet's lost key and take it." Suddenly, the generator sparked and a hidden wall slid open. Behind it was a strange silver pod, small, dusty, and cracked, but alive. Zira stepped forward. "This is a memory pod. It holds one truth. My blood will unlock it." John grabbed her arm. "Are you sure it's safe?" "No," she said, "but truth is never safe." She touched the pod. A light spread over her hand, and the room filled with low humming. The pod opened, revealing a glowing cube. Inside, a projection started. A woman appeared, tall, strong, and full of light. She had Zira's eyes. She spoke in the same alien tongue. Zira translated. "That is my mother. She says, if you see this, it means I've survived. That I must never return to the royal palace. That the family was betrayed from within." John listened, frozen. This wasn't just about a throne. It was a civil war, and Zira was the last living key. Zira held the cube tightly. "Now they will feel this. Every scan will light up. They will know I've awakened." John looked outside. The fog had lifted, but silence remained. Something was coming, and Zira, the lost royal, was no longer hiding. She was ready to fight. Asterisk escaped from the church's secret tunnel. The memory cube in Zira's hand still glowed, but her face had turned pale. She was breathing fast. Something deep inside her had shifted after unlocking the pod. The light from her body was stronger now, too bright to hide under clothes for long. Her royal blood was fully awake, and it was calling out across space. John could see it. She was not just glowing, she was changing. Her voice had become stronger, her steps more firm, her mind sharper. But her fear had also returned. Not for herself, but for Earth. "They will not stop now," she whispered. "They will come with full force to take me, to erase you." John didn't ask why. He just nodded. "Then we leave now." Zira closed the pod and pointed to the map that had briefly appeared on the screen. A red line crossed through a place near the edge of the town, a small dot near the old church where he'd first found her. "There," she said. "A door still exists, hidden. Long ago my ancestors made allies on Earth. A tunnel was built to hide my kind if we ever returned." John felt a strange chill. "You're saying someone planned for you to come here?" Zira looked at him. "Not me, but someone like me. The royal bloodline was always hunted. Earth was our final hope." Without wasting time, they packed the cube, a small energy blade, and the few supplies they had left. John drove fast using back roads. The fog was thinner now, but tension still wrapped around the town like chains. When they reached the church, it looked like before, old, silent, and empty. But now John knew better. It wasn't abandoned. It was hiding something ancient. Zira walked to the left side of the building and placed her hand on a cracked stone wall. Golden lines spread across the surface like veins. Then the wall trembled and slowly opened. Behind it was a narrow stone passage, filled with dust and darkness. John followed her inside. The tunnel smelled like time itself, cold, forgotten, and untouched. But there was power here. The walls were not normal stone. They had metal inside them, humming softly when Zira passed. "How long has this been here?" John asked. "Thousands of your years," she replied, "hidden by those who believed in our kind. My mother told stories. I never thought they were real." They walked deeper into the tunnel. Strange lights lit up as Zira passed by them, reacting to her blood. Symbols on the walls pulsed gently in gold and blue. John couldn't read them, but he knew this was no normal path. It was sacred, built for her. Then came the sound, a sharp echo. Metal steps behind them. Zira froze. "They found us." John turned around. A red beam flashed past his head, burning into the tunnel wall. The hunters had arrived. "They can't let you leave," John said. "But we won't stop." They ran. Zira, even with her glowing body and heavy breath, moved fast. The tunnel curved downward, deeper and deeper, until they reached a sealed metal door. She placed the cube into a small slot near the door. It blinked red, then green. The door hissed and slid open. Beyond it was something incredible. An underground chamber, shaped like a dome, with old alien tech fused into the stone. A platform floated in the center, surrounded by silent machines that waited, asleep for centuries. "This is the escape gate," Zira said. "It was used during the Great Fall. It can send us away, but it only opens for royal code." John stared at the platform. "Where does it send us?" Zira looked at him with pain in her eyes. "Not far, but safer. A hidden base. My family's last beacon. But once we use it, this tunnel will collapse. No one can follow." Footsteps grew louder. The hunters were close. Zira turned to John. "Step on the platform." John hesitated. "What if it doesn't work for me?" She held his hand. "My blood touched you. The gate will listen. You helped royalty. That means something." Together, they stepped onto the platform. Zira held the cube high. "By blood, by memory, by the last of my house," she whispered. The gate lit up. Behind them, the hunters appeared. Their leader shouted, "Surrender the bloodline." But it was too late. Light exploded around Zira and John. The last thing he saw before disappearing into the flash was the look of pure rage on the hunter's face and Zira's calm, royal eyes glowing brighter than ever. The tunnel behind them collapsed, burying the past forever, and the two human and alien queen were now somewhere new, somewhere hidden. But the war had only just begun. The throne awakens. The light faded slowly, like a curtain lifting after a long night. John opened his eyes, feeling dizzy and breathless. The air around him was different, cool, fresh, and quiet. He blinked several times before he could see clearly. They were no longer underground. They were standing inside a large circular hall, glowing with soft blue light. The place felt ancient but alive. Tall walls curved upward into a dome covered in symbols that moved like flowing water. Strange vines, made of glowing crystal, hung from the ceiling. The floor hummed gently under their feet, and the air seemed to whisper. Zira stood still beside him, her body glowing softly, her eyes filled with something new memory. She was not the same girl he had found behind the church. She stood taller now, stronger. Her steps were slower, more powerful. The place welcomed her, like it had been waiting a long time for her return. "This is one of the last royal sanctuaries," she said, "built long before Earth forgot us." John looked around, amazed. "What is this place?" She turned to him. "A throne. Not the kind you sit on, but the kind that answers only to blood." At the far end of the hall stood a giant crystal pillar, tall and quiet. It pulsed once when Zira stepped closer. She reached into her pouch and removed the memory cube. As soon as she held it up, the entire room responded. Lights on the walls brightened. The floor under her feet glowed brighter. Then the crystal opened slowly, revealing a seat carved from living light. Zira stepped forward and sat down. Suddenly, a wave of golden light spread from the seat, passing through every wall and corner. Ancient machines woke. Screens lit up with data from across the galaxy. A voice spoke soft, female, and powerful. It was in Zira's language, but she understood every word. She turned to John. "The sanctuary confirms my identity. I am now seen by the throne. I am no longer hidden." John looked worried. "Won't that alert your enemies?" Zira nodded. "Yes, but it also alerts my allies." She placed both hands on the glowing armrests. Lines of gold and blue light crawled up her arms, into her chest, and out through her eyes. She gasped once, but didn't scream. The throne was connecting with her, downloading memories, confirming her code, waking old commands written in her blood. John watched as her hair lifted gently, moved by unseen energy. The light surrounded her like a shield, and her body lifted inches above the throne. She floated there, not as a girl anymore, but as royalty reborn. When the light faded, she lowered back down. She looked at John. "I remember more now. Names, places, codes, even pain." Her voice was heavy. She had seen more than she could explain. War, death, betrayal, the fall of her family. And something worse, the face of the one who had helped destroy her home. "It wasn't just outsiders," she whispered. "One of our own, my father's brother, gave me away. He fed information to the hunters. He wanted the throne." John stepped closer. "Is he still alive?" "Yes," Zira said coldly. "And he commands the hunters now." There was silence. Then the throne spoke again, showing a small projection. It was earth-marked with bright red dots. "They've tracked us again," Zira said. "Not here, but near. They can't touch the sanctuary, but they will wait outside. They know. I must leave one day." John clenched his fists. "What do we do?" Zira looked into the air. The throne showed an image of a ship, massive, dark, and sharp like a blade. It hovered silently above a hidden base somewhere far from the city. "That is the last royal vessel still unclaimed," she said. "It can only be activated by my blood and one human." John blinked. "Me?" Zira nodded. "You helped me when I was weak. Now your signature is part of the throne's memory. It accepts you. But I'm just normal," John said. Zira placed her hand on his chest. "You are not normal. You chose kindness when the galaxy offered cruelty. That is royal enough." The hall darkened slightly. A soft alarm began to echo through the sanctuary. "They've called reinforcements," Zira whispered. "They want to surround Earth before I reach the ship." John looked at her with fire in his eyes. "Then we leave now, before they can trap us." Zira stood tall, her glow brighter than ever. "Yes, we leave now, and this time, we don't. Run." She walked toward the far wall, and a door slid open, revealing a bright path to a platform, a ship hidden within the sanctuary walls. Small, fast, made for stealth. The final part of her journey had begun. The throne had awakened Dot, and now the lost queen and her human protector would fly straight into danger, not to hide, but to take back what was stolen. Asterisk, one human, one princess. And a war begins. The sanctuary doors opened with a quiet hum. Outside, the sky was dark blue, and the stars above shined like sharp eyes watching from space. Zira stepped onto the flight platform, her cloak now glowing with threads of gold. She looked nothing like the weak girl John had first found. She walked like someone who had once ruled and now remembered it. Beside her stood John, still in his worn jacket, still unsure if he belonged in this story. But Zira looked at him with calm eyes and said, "You're not just part of my journey, John. You are the reason I survived it." The ship waiting for them was sleek, black, and shaped like a bird with folded wings. It was made from a living alloy that moved slightly as Zira touched its side. The door opened with a quiet breath. Inside, lights glowed soft blue, and the seat in the center responded only to Zira's presence. She sat down, and the ship came alive. Dot stars shifted on the front display. Alerts began to sound. John asked, "What's happening?" Zira answered, "They know I've claimed the sanctuary. They will try to block the skies, but we won't let them." With a deep hum, the ship rose from the ground. It moved like it was part of the wind, silent but strong. Zira guided it upward through the clouds, leaving behind the earth below. John sat beside her, holding tightly to the sides, his heart racing. Dot as they entered the upper atmosphere, a voice filled the ship. The AI system had awakened, recognizing Zira's bloodline. Royal access confirmed. Path to command vessel unlocked. A large map appeared in front of them, Earth in the center, surrounded by growing red dots. John pointed. "What are those?" "Hunter ships," Zira said, "coming from hidden bases. Some are already here. But the main ship, the real threat, is just beyond the moon. My uncle's command cruiser." The tension inside the ship grew. "We don't have weapons to fight them," John said. Zira's eyes narrowed. "Not yet. But we're going to the old Royal Command vessel. It sleeps under the sea of clouds on Mars. It's called the Heart of Virelia, and once we reach it, everything changes." Minutes later, the stars shifted. The surface of Mars came into view, red, silent, and cold. But deep within one crater, a massive ship lay hidden under rock and dust, shaped like a chewed, sleeping dragon. It was old, forgotten, but alive. As Zira approached, the sleeping vessel responded. Golden lights ran across its body, waking it slowly. The small ship landed on the surface, and Zira stepped out, her blood already calling the great machine from rest. She placed her hand on the hull and spoke in her language. The ground shook, and then the old warship opened like a flower, revealing its glowing core. John followed her in. The ship's heart welcomed them. Inside, it was grand tall halls of light, control panels, and energy fields humming with old power. Everything was silent, waiting for her touch. As soon as Zira stepped forward, the ship knew. It lit up, brighter than anything John had seen. The ship's voice echoed. "Queen's blood confirmed. Power at 62%. Battle mode locked until activation key matched." Then something strange happened. John stepped forward, and the ship's system scanned him. The lights blinked red, then green. Companion DNA accepted. Human bond confirmed. Dual command unlocked. Zira turned to him in shock. It accepted you fully. John was still trying to understand. What does that mean? It means, Zira said slowly, you're no longer just helping me. You are now bonded to the royal core. Half of this ship answers to you. Before either of them could speak. More, an alarm rang across the ship. A hunter fleet had arrived, thousands of small fighters. One massive flagship, Zira's uncle, had come. A voice cracked through the ship's system. It was deep, cold, and full of hate. You were supposed to die, Zira. Your blood was meant to serve, not rule. Surrender now, and I may spare your human pet. John clenched his fists. Not happening. Zira stood tall. You want the throne? Come take it. The old warship lifted from Mars, glowing like a second sun. It moved with speed no modern ship could match. As it broke through space, its weapons lit up old, forbidden, and powerful. The Hunter fleet. Opened fire, but it was like throwing stones at a star. Zira and John moved together, each holding one side of the control bridge. The ship responded to both. Shields rose, weapons fired, and hunter ships exploded one after another. The flagship charged forward. Zira whispered, now. Together, they activated the thrown weapon, a beam of living light shaped by memory, by pain, and by the will to survive. It tore through the enemy ship. Silence followed. The battle was over. But the war had only begun. Zira looked at John, her voice steady. We have awakened the galaxy. Now, they'll all come. Some to fight, some to follow. John nodded. Then we'll be ready. One human, one princess, and a whole new future.